Ronald Joseph Dominique, born January 9, 1964, known as the Bayou Strangler, is an American serial killer and rapist who murdered at least 23 men and boys in the state of Louisiana between 1997 and 2006. On September 23, 2008, Dominique was found guilty and sentenced to several terms of life imprisonment without parole for his crimes. Following his conviction, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, stated that Dominique's was the most significant serial homicide case in the country over the past 2 decades in terms of both death toll and duration. Ronald Joseph Dominique was born on January 9, 1964, in Thibodaux, Louisiana, the youngest of 6 children. His parents were poor laborers who lived in a trailer park located on the outskirts of the city. He attended the local Thibodaux High School. During his school years, Dominique was known for his melancholic temperament, lack of communication skills, and weight problems. These, coupled with low self-esteem and poor health, made him the target of bullying. Despite singing in the school choir, Dominique was considered an unpopular social outcast since he didn't play sports, didn't do drugs, or drink alcohol. Shortly before leaving school, Dominique discovered that he was gay and visited a local gay bar several times. However, some of his classmates had seen him there, resulting in harassment. Dominique vehemently denied accusations of being homosexual. He graduated from high school in 1983. Because of his family's financial circumstances, Dominique had lived out his childhood and adolescence in poverty. After leaving school, he entered the Nichols State University, where he studied computer science. However, he quickly lost interest and dropped out in the mid-1980s. Dominique's victims tended to be teenagers and men aged between 16 and 46, but not all of them were homosexual. Most of the victims were African American. He often met them during walks or drives in his pickup truck, as well as in gay bars, luring them with offers of alcohol, drugs, housing, or group sex with his supposed girlfriend. After successfully convincing potential victims, Dominique would lure them to his trailer where he would overpower them, bind them, and subsequently rape them. According to the investigators, Dominique then strangled them, loaded their bodies into the back of his truck, and dumped them in remote rural areas in one of 6 nearby parishes. The murders began in July 1997, with Dominique's first confirmed victim being a 19-year-old African-American man named David Mitchell. He was picked up while hitchhiking alone from his grandmother's house after attending a relative's birthday party. His body was found on July 14th in a ditch along a highway near a wooded area in St. Charles Parish, 2 days after he was last seen. Forensic research showed that there was ditch water in David's lungs, but no trace of physical trauma, drugs, or alcohol. His death was initially ruled as accidental drowning. However, Mitchell's father insisted that his son was an excellent swimmer and that he had been murdered since the water level was low and the fact that Mitchell's trousers had been lowered to his ankles when found. After Dominique's later confessions, the deceased's relatives denied that he was gay, used drugs, or had financial troubles. Dominique's next 2 murders also took place in the St. Charles Parish. The first was in December 1997, when he strangled 20-year-old Gary Pierre. His body was found fully clothed, with no signs of physical trauma or drugs found in his system. The second killing occurred on July 31st, 1998, when he killed 38-year-old Larry Ranson Vagrant. Ranson was the first victim subjected to bondage by Dominique. In early October 1998, Dominique met 27-year-old Oliver Lubanks in Metairie. After his arrest, he claimed that Lou Banks offered him sexual services in exchange for money, after which Dominique had sex with him, then beat and strangled him. Lou Banks's body was later disposed of on the outskirts of Metairie, where it was found on October 4th. During the autopsy, traces of Dominique's semen was found on Oliver's body. Relatives and friends of Lou Banks later confirmed that he had only recently resorted to this lifestyle after he had been fired from his job for using drugs. In October 1998, he met 16-year-old Joseph Brown in Kenner and lured him into his truck. Dominique beat the teenager several times on the head with a blunt object and then strangled him with a plastic bag. A month later, 18-year-old Bruce Williams fell victim to Dominique in similar circumstances. In May 1999, Dominique was cruising around Kenner when he came across 21-year-old Manuel Reed. Dominique lured him into his truck, where he raped and then strangled Reed, later dumping his corpse in a dumpster in the city's industrial zone, about a mile from where Brown's body was found. Similar to Lou Banks, semen traces were found which belonged to an unknown male. A month later, Dominique killed 21-year-old Angel Mejia. At first, the killer tried to dump Mage's corpse in a dumpster, but after discovering that it was full, he discarded it on the street. After examining the corpse, the coroner concluded that the victim had been tied up with a rope prior to his death. While investigating the killings, law enforcement established that Mejia, Brown, and Pierre all lived in close proximity to each other. In late August, Dominique met 34-year-old Mitchell Johnson. He took Johnson to the forest outside Metairie, where he tied, raped, and strangled him. Mitchell's fully nude body was discovered on September 1st. In January 2000, Dominique claimed another victim, 23-year-old Michael Vincent, in Lafourche Parish. In early October, he became closely associated with 20-year-old Kenneth Randolph Jr., who lived near him in a trailer park. Dominique lured Randolph into his trailer and then attacked and murdered him. He then took the body to a field outside the city, where the partially naked remains were found on October 6th. On October 12th, 2002, in the late evening, Dominique met 26-year-old Anoka Jones on the streets in Houma. He attacked Jones, after which he tied up, raped, and strangled him. Dominique later dumped his body under a highway overpass, where it was discovered several hours later. In October 2004, Dominique lured 46-year-old Larry Matthews to his house, but during the process, Matthews lost consciousness, after which Dominique raped and strangled him. He later dumped Matthews' body 20 miles away from the crime scene. Nobody initially reported Matthews as missing since he was homeless, and his identity later had to be established via fingerprints. Dominique's next victim, his first white victim, was 21-year-old Michael Barnett, whose body was found on October 24, 2004. In February 2005, Dominique murdered 22-year-old Leon Lyrid, who had previously lived with two other victims, Barnett and Anoka Jones, and was considered the prime suspect in Jones' murder, as he was the last person to see him prior to the former's disappearance. 2 months later, in April, Dominique met 31-year-old August Watkins, who he lured to his truck. After Watkins ended up in his trailer, Dominique tied him up, raped, and strangled the victim. After Watkins' corpse was discovered, police finally began to consider for the first time that a serial killer was active in Kenner and Houma, since the murders in both areas demonstrated a strikingly similar modus operandi. The case was handed over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. A few days after killing Watkins, Dominique killed 23-year-old Kurt Cunningham. Later that summer, he murdered 28-year-old Alonzo Hogan in St. Charles Parish and 17-year-old Wayne Smith in Terrebonne Parish. Hogan had been raped by Dominique pre-mortem, while no traces of semen were found on Smith's corpse since his body had been disposed of in a canal, where it had severely decomposed when discovered only a few days later. In September 2005, Dominique murdered 40-year-old Chris DeVille, who was trying to hitchhike out of Napoleonville following Hurricane Katrina. He later dumped DeVille's corpse in a reed field. His skeletal remains were discovered the following month and identified by relatives, thanks only to ID cards and other personal belongings left beside the body. In late November, Dominique killed 21-year-old Nicholas Pellegrin in Lafourche Parish. During the investigation into his death, Pellegrin's relatives told the police that shortly before his death, the deceased man borrowed $400 from local drug dealers and had missed the payment date, after which he began to receive death threats. Dominique's last confirmed victim was 27-year-old Christopher Sutterfield. He had met Dominique in the summer of 2006, after which the two began supposedly dating. On October 14th, while on a date together in Iberville Parish, Dominique hit Sutterfield on the head with a heavy object, causing him to lose consciousness. After finding his body, police interviewed Sutterfield's relatives, friends, and acquaintances, all of whom confirmed they had last seen him with a man driving a black SUV, but they were unable to describe his companion's appearance. In November 2006, Dominique came under police suspicion after Ricky Wallace, a resident of Bayou Blue, reported that Dominique had lured him to his trailer in mid-2006 with an offer to share drugs and have sex with a girl. After Wallace entered the trailer, according to his testimony, Dominique tried to convince him that his girlfriend enjoyed bondage, offering to tie Wallace up. Ricky refused, and soon after he was allowed to leave. His testimony was questioned at first. Nevertheless, Dominique was questioned by police. While he was held at the station, Dominique agreed to donate a blood sample. Over the next week, DNA testing matched Dominique's profile with that of the elusive killer, who had left behind semen traces on the bodies of Oliver Lubanks and Manuel Reed, resulting in an arrest warrant. On December 1st, 2006, Dominique was arrested at a homeless shelter. After said arrest, he told police that he knew it was a matter of time before he was captured, so he had moved out of his sister's house in order not to inconvenience her. Once at the police station, Dominique expressed his desire to cooperate with investigators and readily confessed to 23 murders, describing them with details known to only officers. As a result, charges were brought against him. Despite his confession, Dominique refused to admit guilt in the attacks. He stated that many of his victims had voluntarily agreed to be tied, handcuffed, and treated similarly since they wanted to earn money. If the potential victim refused to do so, he let them go without harming them. Concerning his motive, Dominique claimed that he wanted to get rid of any witnesses as he was unwilling to serve a prison sentence again. According to him, after his 1996 arrest for rape, he was strongly impacted, allegedly remaining in constantly negative emotional states, and even began to show symptoms of a mental disorder. If you like this video, make sure to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button. We'll be back soon with another gripping crime episode. Until then, stay safe and stay happy.